everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this little home project. It's called Unlock, Locked But Not Down. It's a very informal sort of chat with some of my amazing friends and colleagues, and I'm very blessed to know a lot of them across the world about how they are approaching this very weird, unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in very creatively. Some of them are, being very innovative about their work. Some of them are sort of helping other people. Some of them are picking up new skills. But in general, they are just being overall, if I may use the word, very inspiring for the rest of us. And that is the only intention of these chats, to bring to you people that can add a dose of inspiration to your life. So today I have someone that I personally greatly admire, Christina Teo. She's my friend, and she's a sort of a mentor, and she's based in Singapore. How are you, Christina?
Very good. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for being on this. And, I was just reading a quote that, like, I have been following your work for a really long time. And I was reading this quote, and it struck me that both of us are probably in the same boat on this, right? So this is a quote from Seth Godin. He says, we can choose to use this time of uncertainty to contribute, to level up and participate, or we can view it as a roadblock that stops our journey forward. Now might be a better time than any to commit yourself to growth, to connecting with others from around the world, and to be preparing for a better future. So now that's like, I feel like both of us feel similarly about it. So before I get into it, I want to do a very quick one-line introduction for all my friends that might be watching this. So Christina's amazing, all-around inspiring woman. I will not get too much into that because we'll save that for something more special later. So she came back to Singapore after a very successful career as a senior corporate executive based out of Hong Kong after sort of a semi-retirement. There's no retirement for people like Christina, really. Even in that, she dabbled with several things. And then after almost 8 years, she came back home to Singapore, which is where she's currently based. And she really reinvented herself as someone who learned the art and science of startups and then very quickly scaled up to become an angel investor. She's the founder of this very well-known and successful angel investor network and community called She1K. And she has a very interesting journey behind how she got there, and one that only she can do justice to. So Christina, over to you. Tell us that little anecdote you were sharing with me earlier about how you went from corporate to becoming this.
Yeah. When I came back to Singapore, I was really not looking for anything, right? At that point in time, I was so happily retired, completely complacent, and my digital knowledge was zero. I only Facebook once a year, and when Lee Kuan Yew died, right? So I wasn't really looking for anything, and I considered myself totally obsolete, and I was fine with that. But this word kept popping up in my radar, startup. And intuitively, I could guess what it was. And so, you see, I came back to zero network, no friends. So I couldn't even call someone and ask, what does this word mean? And I wasn't a digital person, so I didn't even Google, right? But eventually I did, and then I pushed myself to go to this trade show called Slush. And that completely changed my life. That is September 2016. So, of course, it was very intimidating, right? You go to a huge, huge show and you are so out of touch and you're there all by yourself. And you look around you, everybody was young. I was already in my 50s. So I was like, what am I doing here? But there was this energy that I couldn't resist, right? As a marketeer, I was really attracted to the razzmatazz. So I started talking to people. I wasn't that shy, so I was able to talk to entrepreneurs. And I talked to many female entrepreneurs, young female entrepreneurs. And then I realized something. I said, look, there is no reason for them to talk to me again. There's no reason for them to want to meet me again. So there and then I decided I will start a community called Startup Asia Women. Right? Okay. Because I wanted to bring people together. I wanted to learn about startups. So the best way to do it when you're in your 50s, you're not going to cold call and knock doors. So the best way is to create something where you pull the people to you. So I rather be found than go find people. So that was the beginning of my journey from September 2016.
Amazing. There's so much for everyone to learn over here. And I just want to make a note of two things that I've learned from you in the period that I've known you is reinvention of yourself, right? A second career is a distinctive possibility. And when I remember meeting you, it was either 2018, the end of 2018 or the beginning of 2019. And we've been in touch since then. I remember thinking, wow, a second career. How is it that I never thought of it? And how is it that a lot of us don't think of it, because we have so many dimensions to ourselves. um, the current job that we do, which we may be very good at, may not be the only thing that we are very good at, right? Or may not be the only interest that we have. And I love what you said, and this is my sort of earnest sort of advice, if you will, to all startups watching this, is join the network, obviously, but here's a piece of insight, that if you can be found, if you can create a forum to be found, nothing like it, right? Through your work, through your networks, etc. This is amazing. But now we are in circuit breaker, as we are calling it in Singapore. In India, we are calling it the lockdown. I like.
Yes.
I remember texting my friends saying, "Ooh, circuit breaker, such a scientific
Yes,
sounding term, right?"
exactly.
But I
It
remember,
took me a while to understand what they're trying to do.
well, Singapore, they have to release an infographic to explain what a circuit breaker is. So, the current circuit breaker obviously isn't easy for anyone. And I remember you telling me that you had already started to take steps to isolate yourself and your company even before the official orders came in. So that's really, really proactive of you. But for an angel investor like you, someone so active in the networking community, what have been some of the changes work-wise for you, Christina, since the circuit breaker came into effect about 2 weeks back, if I'm not mistaken now?
Right. So the good thing for us was we were already using Zoom quite a bit, right? Because when we invest in startups from all over the world, right? And we found this formula after the first two pitch, we call it private pitch. So startups can pitch to our members through what we call a private pitch, because it's not for public to see and watch, very passively. For us, it's about members actively engaged, listening to the pitches and questioning, right? And we realized that it was really difficult to facilitate this, because one side's got to give, right? So if we want the members to be in a room, then maybe the startups would have to do it in a different way. So from early last year, we already did through Zoom. So
Okay.
all our private pitches, startups will pitch via Zoom. And the members could be in a room physically, okay? In fact, in two rooms, because we have Singapore and Hong Kong simultaneously, yeah? And then those who can't make it to the physical place, they would use Zoom. So the moment this thing hit us, we were like, yeah, it's actually our way of life in many situations. So therefore, we were not that resistant to the idea.
Yeah.
But what we do miss is, and our members miss as well, is definitely the sit down and being able to chat. Because over Zoom it's still difficult to have multiple people talking over each other, right? So
Right.
that's something that we probably miss. Yeah.
Okay.
But we were very lucky, because just when Singapore issued the orange order, we actually had a Sea Shark Tank event, which was a physical event.
Right.
And that was planned a long time ago, right? So the startups who had to fly into Singapore, they flew in. And also the sharks, the corporate executives who signed up as a shark for a day, it was a full day, they showed up. Nobody canceled.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
so that was our last, great feeling. We ended it on a high, let's say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now, yeah, we can feel the big difference.
Yeah. No, I have been part of your actually your live event, like the offline event. Now imagine we are calling events offline and online. That's how life has changed, right? So I'd love for all the startups to note what she said. I think being a little ahead on the technology curve has never hurt anyone. So even the other day, I was doing a little online sort of networking with a couple of small entrepreneurs, and my thing to them was, you can't come out of this circuit breaker still giving the excuse that you don't know social media marketing. now is the time to upskill. So I feel like the fact that you already thought about virtual technologies as a startup and a Shark Tank forum yourself months in advance stood you in really good stead. But a note for all the viewers: her offline events are amazing. I think this was Jan of 2019 when we met at the Women Changemakers event, and in fact, I liked it so much. I still remember I wasn't speaking, I was moderating one of your panels, and I remember just the honest sharing and, if I may use the word, the no bullshit sort of environment we had. It really felt everyone feeling much at ease. And there is, in fact, research to prove that, right? Like Christina knows this better than anyone else. There is Harvard Business School research to prove that close to 78% of women, when they attend forums like yours, they feel very connected and inspired. And I left feeling very connected and inspired with you, with Manisha, and a lot of other, kind of panelists. So everyone who's watching this, as and when we are back in the real world again, go attend Women Changemakers. In fact, I wanted to talk to you about trying to bring Women Changemakers to Bombay. And,
Yes,
like kind of, okay, so we'll leave that for later. Okay, so
can't wait for it. Really.
I
Mhm.
know that'll be amazing, right? We can bring it to Bombay. uh, okay, Christina. So I was thinking, creativity is born in crisis, and you even before the crisis began, you had already started to be so creative. And necessity is the mother of all invention. But someone who's had like a lot of very successful offline real world events, you have so successfully managed, like you mentioned, to take even some of your bigger forums online, right? So the one that I noticed is you have recently just started You Don't Have to Have Lunch Alone on Wednesday. And that struck me as a really sweet, a really nice thing that you're doing. So tell me two things. Tell me about the insight behind doing something like this, besides running your full-time company. And how do you go about the execution of doing this? So I was wondering, you have some really high powered executives on that list. How do you manage
Right.
to get their time, and what's the help
Mhm.
that you have to get this off the
Right.
ground? I might say that cheaply.
So of course we do have some benefit, right? We have executed 11 women change makers in 3 cities over 18 months. So
Yeah,
in a way, we already have some kind of a following,
yeah,
right? But still, every time we have many new people who come and attend,
yeah.
and word of mouth is pretty strong. But when you have an offline event, it's quite different from online. So, and now since everybody is doing some kind of online event, in fact, it's even more crowded than when you were doing a live offline event. Think
Yes,
about it. This
yes,
is now you're fighting for people's time, I don't know, 100,000 times. Because when you're doing it in one country, right, it's only the people who are executing in your country. But now it could be anybody anywhere in the world who is hosting an online event, and it's 24/7,
yeah,
right? You can tune in at night. Doesn't matter the time difference. Your day is not 8 hours anymore.
yeah.
So therefore, because of that, I'm also mindful, and that's why I pick, right? Because I think, first of all, people are having a lot of calls. They're having still a lot of meetings. They're still having their daily routines. Whether, if they work from home or they don't work from home, they have all these daily routines. So how can you kind of fight for their attention? So I
Mm,
thought, well, you need to eat, right? So while you're eating, let's do something. Now, then the other thing we found out was, for every event, there is never you can't please everybody.
yeah,
So at Women Changemakers Live event, we like to do it in a panel format because we feel that then different women feed into each other. They stimulate each other in the discussion.
correct.
Because just like when you were the moderator, right? It was like, hey, when somebody said this and then it reminded you of something and then you could feed back to it.
Yeah.
So it has its magic formula. But I also realized that when you're on a panel, each executive woman has less time.
Mm,
So that's why we switched the formula. We didn't want to replicate Women Changemakers. So it wasn't like bringing the live event online.
mm.
I wouldn't say that. It's basically a different concept. And so it's only 45 minutes, not even 1 hour. Okay. So it's meant to be bite-sized, but we spotlight one woman change maker each time. So it's
Amazing.
a complete attention, right? The other big thing that we changed was because Women Change Makers was always about personal story,
Yeah.
like what we were going to do next, right? About raw stories. However, in the context of what's happening today, I think this formula is not going to fit just as well.
Mm.
So me, I encourage women to be in the know, right? I think everybody now needs to know what's happening in every sector, in every industry, and learn from as many people as possible. So our first Hari from Twitter, and
Yeah.
so I would be really excited to know from her about the social media trend and how the pandemic has in fact affected media, right? Media by itself, and then social media like Twitter.
Mm.
And I think everybody needs to know this, even if you're not working in the advertising space, you're not working in the media space, you need to know what's happening in each industry. So
Yeah.
that's why I created this series. And
Amazing.
as for the executive women, the interesting thing is actually they're not less busy. In fact, they're busier,
Mm.
right? And now they're all losing their voice because they are on calls all the time.
Yeah.
So it is very precious to get their 45 minutes.
Amazing. Like, so many insights for everyone to take away. Find the time where you can have attention from your people, from your consumers or target audience. That's the ground rule of that. Is Christina's magic marketing skills being applied, everyone. And I think the insight that you just mentioned, that their women need that time and then space to reconnect, which they're really missing, this could be that. And I also felt like when I saw it for the first time, a thought occurred to me that, Singapore is a very transient population, where a huge part of it, I'm sorry, not the whole population, there are people that come there that are single, right? Or even if they are not, they are living by themselves. I thought that for them, that is such a sweet thought, the gesture that a meal, you have company, a virtual company for that meal. So congratulations on that. The first session is with Maya Hari, who I think is the APAC head of Twitter. Christina, would you mind mentioning when that's happening?
So that's April 29,
Okay.
and we start at 12:30 Singapore time, and we
Yes.
start checking people in from 12:15.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
amazing. So for everyone in Singapore, that's 12:30 Singapore time on April of 29th. And for everyone in India, that's 10 a.m. That's fine. It can be your morning break. These events are amazing.
Breakfast, late breakfast.
Breakfast, right, right, right. So, and anyone is welcome to join, Christina, from anywhere.
Yes,
Okay.
we want more people to benefit from the effort.
Okay, so at the end of this, in our ending slates, we will give you Christina's LinkedIn ID, and you can follow her there, and that's where she posts everything. Now back to something a little, let's say, not so serious. You shared your sanity list on, so on LinkedIn, obviously, and of course on Facebook as well. I found it so amazing. You shared a list of 11 items. Between us friends, I made a list of 30 items, and I looked at it. I have to tell you, that the 30 item list also has small things like clean the wardrobe, clean the shoe cupboard. So it's those kind of things also. But I assume about 5 or 10 of them would be like really serious things that I have, projects that I've been putting off, right? So on that 11 items list, can you tell me one or two that you are happy with the progress that you are making, and what are they, for the benefit of our viewers?
I think because I went quite full on with these women change makers at lunch, and we also have women change makers. The initiative is for women empowerment. It's something that I truly believe in, right?
Yeah.
But the daytime business of mine is really Angel Network, where we invest in startups. So we're constantly scouting for startups, and so that's why we also initiated She1K Happy Hour, right?
Right.
And that's for startup founders to learn from each other, and also for us, for us to stay in touch with the startups. So I think these two initiatives, it took me quite a while before I decided I want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty time consuming because
I
there's a
can
lot of
imagine.
preparation before, it very well, and then during and after, right? So So that's something that I could say I'm quite proud of. And
Yeah.
I made sure that I did it every week or every fortnight, right? So happy hour is every fortnight and
Yeah.
Women Change Makers is every week, because I wanted people to feel that they have something to look forward to. So there is a kind of routine. If you do it as one off, it's kind of loses its meaning,
Right.
right? Because this lockdown is getting extended. So it's better that we plan ahead. So that's why now we already have 6 weeks planned,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
have all these. So this is big. The other one is, of course, I had wanted to finish a book, writing a book
Yes. I was hoping you'd bring that up.
2 years ago, right? So it's late. It's very late, but it's not easy. I think to be so busy arranging things that require a lot of logistics, and then at the same time still be able to have the head space to think about something completely different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something I started. I guess the third thing is a fun thing, right? I have been scrabbling a lot. So playing Scrabble with people from all over the world. But I realize that that's really good, and I'm getting very good at it, by the way.
I was just about
So
to say
I
that.
find that that's really good for the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
amazing. Besides Scrabble, of course, my next question to
Yeah.
you, Christina, was just you're getting so much done, and I'll obviously come back to your happy hour because I want to talk to people more about it. What
Mhm.
are you? Is there anything specific that you are reading in terms of your books, or is there any music or podcast you're listening to, or anything that you are watching on Netflix or elsewhere to keep your self-stimulated or even entertained, really? Because like all the entertainment that we had as social hour, or just meeting and catching up with friends, or going to a play perhaps, or a concert at the Esplanade, all of that's just like not there anymore. So what does Christina do to just relax and be inspired, stay inspired, because you have so much on your plate right now?
Well, so for me, maybe it's the opposite, okay? Because I think that even when we didn't have this situation, when there was no lockdown, I'm someone who sleeps very little, right? I
Oh my
sleep only
god.
4 to 5 hours a day. So for me, my day is really long. So I do, I really can afford to get a lot done and yet get a lot of R&R. So
Yeah.
my number one R&R is, of course, Netflix. That's it.
Yay.
Right? So for now, actually, is the opposite. Now I actually spend more time on Channel News Asia, and I pay more attention to world news.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel really good because I have never paid this much attention
Right.
and really go after knowledge that I probably took for granted. I overlooked, right? But now, I want to push myself to know what's happening elsewhere. How are people facing the situation? So I would also go into YouTube and really watch, like how did Wuhan handle the lockdown?
Right.
Because I think Singapore is still a very nice city. Yeah, a lot of things we were very lucky to be not panicking. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why I want to push myself to really imagine how it's like for other people in case something happens here. Mhm.
Hmm. So, okay, so you are essentially staying on top of the situation. And I think in general, I love that your answer had both my current company, Netflix, and my alma mater. I have worked with Channel News Inc. as well. So happy to be of any kind of help. But I know that you're doing something. I read the other day that you posted saying you were inviting people to play Mahjong online, right? How's that going?
Yes.
And for our non-Singapore based viewers, please explain what Mahjong is, because I'll do a really bad job at it. So you can explain what that is.
I'm not sure I can explain too, but because it's really centuries old game, right? So it's basically like tiles. And a lot of people say they don't know how to play this game. And I go,
Yeah.
what's so difficult? It's 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, or three of the same, and
Yeah.
that's how you do it. It's not as easy, I would say, because mahjong, if you're doing it virtually, and by the way, there's many different versions of mahjong. So if you're
Right.
from different country, the rules are slightly different.
Yeah.
So that one, I don't think I managed that much success, I would say. And finding the right time, because mahjong, you need all four people to be online at the same time.
Right, of course.
Whereas for Scrabble, you can actually have some time lag, right? So when I wake up, I know that my Americans have already played the round, so that I can continue. So for us, I think Scrabble is more effective. Mahjong is a little bit of a challenge.
Right. So for so for everyone that doesn't know what this game is, Google it. It's one of Singapore's national pastimes. I'd love watching groups of 4 people sort of sitting and just playing. It was just such a great way for the community to connect as well. So I miss seeing that right now. So, how do you see, Christina, the world change after this, right? So the world's going to change. The way, hopefully, we are going to be more mindful about who we become, how we treat the planet, how we treat other people. But as an investor who is constantly scouting for meaningful startups to put your time, money, mentorship, your full force behind, what will be some of the sectors that you will look to consider more in a focused manner after in the post-COVID world?
I think I wouldn't say like we would focus more on one sector over another, but rather we would look at how these startups survived this crisis, right? What did they do during the crisis?
Yeah.
Did they really make use of their time to either change a little bit of their operation?
Yeah.
Did they accelerate digitization for their customers,
Right.
with their customers? Did they change some of the business model? Were they creative in coming with new ways to engage their customers? And hopefully they will sustain that, right? So, for example, we're looking at a travel startup. So if you were to say, wow, that's one industry that's the most badly hit, does that mean that we don't invest in them? No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. But what we would say is, what did they do during this period of time? And how are all these startups managing their costs, right?
Yeah.
So what I liked, so I read a lot of articles written by other VCs about how people should start cutting the cost now. Don't wait till you're at the end of the road. So
Right.
I like that kind of discipline. And
Yeah.
it also makes us as investors look into that a lot more now.
Right.
So we're not stopping investment for sure. But I think the things that we would look at would be different.
Amazing. This is so helpful. So for everyone, I'm going to tell you a little more about something she's doing next. So you should definitely attend it. But here's what she said. She said that she's going to be, if you want her attention as an angel investor or a VC, you will need to show how you have been creative about managing your businesses, or shall I use the word pivot? How have you pivoted in these times? How have you been able to manage your costs? How have you been able to digitize and ease the consumer journey? And I think overall, Christina, how they have been of impact or benefit or service, whatever have you during this period, right? So there you have it. She spilled the secrets, people. So do things right and you will be on her radar. On that note, Christina, I know you're doing something else, which a lot of startups will find very interesting. So again, on April 29th, every fortnight, you are going to kick off the happy hour, right? Where you are going to get, if I read correctly, essentially the entrepreneurs and startups to come and talk about just this, like sort of how to navigate, if you're a startup, how to navigate this period, what lies ahead of you. Tell us about it, because I think everyone who's a startup or not even a startup should consider going to this online forum that you're organizing.
Exactly, because I think even during this period, there are a lot of startups that will be born, right? People actually have time. So maybe they have delayed their time to start a startup, but now they have time to think about how they're going to start one. So I encourage, whether you are thinking of starting one, not sure about starting one, or you've already started and you're kind of struggling, just attend these happy hours. And this one is for a full hour. And we intentionally make the chat only 30 minutes and giving 30 minutes of Q&A. Because these are founders who have achieved a lot, right? Against all odds. And it's not just about today's crisis. So we'll talk about them with them about their entire journey, not just about now, right?
Yeah.
And we intentionally select different sectors and also different stages of maturity. So, for example, we're kicking off with Val Yap from Policy Pal.
Yeah.
It's an insert pack.
Yeah.
This is because they just got acquired, right? It's a dream of many startups. How can I exit? So I thought this would be a very strong kickoff. Plus, it's a female founder, so we wanted to kick off with a female founder. And then, after that, we're looking at HR tech. We're looking at marketplaces because almost every startup is a marketplace, right? You're trying to bring two parties together and trying to provide a service by subscription if possible. So that's why the third one is Caro, is a marketplace, and we want to help people to understand how do you put all those things together, right? How do you dominate the verticals that you're operating in? And again, we want to spotlight one founder at a time, so that we can go deeper rather than go broader.
Amazing. Like I am so inspired by this, and I assume that so will be all my startup and entrepreneur friends. This is what the objective of this little home project is as well. It is to say that this time that you have, what can you get better at? Now for entrepreneurs, this you could either treat it as a complete disaster, or you could say this is a blessing for me to upscale and upskill. And the kind of stuff that Christina's doing, whether that's the Wednesday lunches with high-powered women executives, or the happy hours that are happening on starting April 29th, 1 hour with a founder that has been in your shoes, has navigated probably several crises, has either gotten acquired or is in the way of getting acquired, you will essentially end up learning a lot. So I'd say mark that happy hour. All the details will be, like I mentioned, at the end of this little video. We'll put that all on the slate. And you have 30 minutes to interact with a founder that honestly wants to help you. And Christina's making that possible. So on behalf of everyone that's going to attend this, Christina, thank you for doing this, because I think this is what I wanted to bring out for everyone, that it's super easy for Christina to continue doing only the things that she's doing, right? But she is trying to inspire, be inspirational, and stay inspired by doing these additional things that no one asked her to. And that to me is incredible, because I think it really helps people at this time. Thank you for that, Christina. And after doing all of this, in the post-COVID world, do you see yourself being, I know you'll be a better version of yourself, that's you every day, but is there a change that you're thinking about, or you're feeling, or is there an evolution that you think might happen? Tell me about it.
I think that everybody would be a lot more mindful, especially and myself as well, of how you could do things more digitally, right? So I think you're going to change the way you prioritize your communication.
Yeah.
And the way you manage time. Definitely, like before, maybe digital is a supplement, and sometimes an afterthought. But once this crisis, kind of get out of this crisis, you may actually think, okay, if possible, I will start with digital. And then the offline actually is supplementary.
Right.
So I think that changes the way you think and the way you operate. Because right now, even for all the things that we do, the way we used to engage, we're now thinking, how can I change the way I engage, right? And it's not just during this lockdown. Is it something that after this change, I can still continue to sustain? So that's what I'm playing with a lot. Because we want to definitely help more startups, but we also need a lot more investors, right? If we want to help more startups. So then now I'm really kind of challenging myself. The great thing about going digital more and prioritizing digital is you can cut across borders, right? So you're not limited to one city. And so now it really stretch your imagination a little bit more. That's what I will do.
Amazing. This chat has been so inspiring for me. And this is the one message that I always, there's so much happening in the world around us. And for those of us like myself, like Christina, that are very privileged to be home, we still have an income, right? We have the security of what we do. I dare say it is our responsibility to be of help. It is our responsibility to leave a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of courage, if you will, into this world, and use our knowledge and whatever little extra time I have. I'm very mindful as I say this because both Christina and I were cleaning our houses before this. So I know that those of you with kids, with jobs, with no help at home, it's a really tough time. But think about, is there anything you can do to help those around you? uh, and your knowledge, your time, your experience could be help to someone who might be really struggling. And I think Christina's managed to create so much impact, both pre-COVID and definitely during COVID. I encourage everyone to follow her on her platforms, and I encourage, given that digital is borderless, I encourage everyone to go and attend these virtual symposiums or forums that she's created. All details at the end of this. But for now, Christina, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay safe. And once this is over, we should really think about I should get myself to Singapore. It's been a while. And and you should get yourself to Bombay so we can do, I know you've done Women Chain Makers in New York, so why not Bombay next, right? So we can do that
Yeah,
here.
definitely. All right, we'll have a Power Women Night for sure.
Well, more power to you. Thank you so much, Christina.
Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful. And I'm so happy that at least now we finally connect, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we can find the time to connect. We've been so busy before. So thank you.
Thank you.